OPEX Sustain or the aerobic energy system would be our third energy system that we consider. And that's where we're using oxygen as a primary fuel source. Whether we are going on a long, slow walk or we're sitting here and having a conversation that isn't lactic, hopefully, or we're doing a 10-minute mixed pace in the gym, that would be where we're doing aerobic work or sustain work.
Yeah, gosh, we love sustain work here, but there's a reason, right? It's like, having a very robust aerobic system just increases everything across the board. If we were to hit a really tough bench press, and let's say we're doing like cluster sets, and we're doing like one, 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 and we're resting 10 seconds between each one. Having a more robust aerobic system allows us to recover faster between those bouts. So when we look at, the ATP-CP system, that actually recovers faster with a much more robust aerobic system. Um, we didn't really mention this at the beginning, but ATP is also a very very important thing to understand, right? Like that's like the powerhouse. That's how we produce energy as human beings. So every all three of the energy systems, they all do their thing to produce more ATP. That's it. Right? So we can say the ATP CP system, we can say the ATP lactate system, we could say the ATP aerobic system. It's all the same thing because that's how we produce energy as humans is we produce more ATP. But I say that because having a more robust aerobic system makes the process of producing ATP that much quicker and that much more efficient. So the aerobic system is just so important because it not only relative to performance and having a robust aerobic system and being able to lift that 1 1 1 1, or having a robust aerobic system and doing lactic work and being able to recover and do that lactic work again, or having a robust aerobic system so you can go out and run a marathon. The aerobic system is like that's like it. That should be the baseline of all energy systems, is because that allows us to be more efficient and more effective across the board with everything. And then when we get into just like normal day-to-day life, it's like having a robust aerobic system has so many benefits to it, right? That have nothing to do with performance. Having a robust aerobic system makes us live longer, right? When we start looking at cardiovascular health, that it increases that. When we start to look at just happiness, right? Having a more robust aerobic system means that you have more mitochondria. Having more mitochondria means that you're a more healthy and robust individual slash human being. So that's why we push do more aerobic work, do more aerobic work. We don't care who you are, what your goals are. Increasing that system is always beneficial until you get to the point where you're increasing it for performance gains and you're trying to get that extra 1%. And whenever you're trying to do that in anything, it starts to become unhealthy. Look at an Ironman, like a competitive, high-level Ironman athlete, right? Those are some of the most those are the oldest looking people that you could ever find, right? Because they just have pushed the limits in aerobic work so hard that they look frail, they look old, they look unhealthy, they look tired, right? Look at cyclists, very, very high level cyclists. And we were talking about the other day, like those are some of the most impressive athletes that you could ever meet, right? I told Georgia a quick story. There was a friend of mine who is an outstanding cyclist. I went on one ride with him and I felt like the most out of shape person. And like I thought I was pretty fit and that like he crushed me, right? But he's my age and he looks like he's 50, right? So, yeah, I mean, once you start pushing performance, there's always a downside to it.
What is that like, especially with aerobic sports and competing in something like an Ironman or triathletes or long distance cycling? Is it just like volume accumulated and like really pushing threshold where pacing becomes unsustainable sometimes, or what makes it unhealthy?
Yeah, I mean, when we look at training let's compare it to training the lactate system. Because we talk about it all the time, right? It's like you don't want to be lying on the ground and not being able to recover from your work, and you know what I mean, like being cognitively not there all day every day because you're doing all that lactic work. you can actually have those same things happen with aerobic work. And one of the reasons is because you can dig so deep into the aerobic system, right? Imagine if every single day, Georgia, you came in and you did 30 30s and you did 120 30 30s every day and you did them at like just about threshold. You could actually do it, right? Like because there's nothing holding you back from that. So let's say just below threshold for you for 30 30 on an assault bike is holding 68 RPM for 30 seconds and you just do that for 2 hours with a little rest after hour 1. You're capable of doing that right now, right? If I were to ask you to do that with lactic work and I said, okay, let's go 20 seconds on, 3 minutes off, and let's do that for 2 hours, you wouldn't be capable of putting out the same output. So you know what I'm getting at there? Like aerobic work, we can dig so deep for so long that it can hurt us really bad, because it's sustainable, right? So you can sustain it for such a long period of time as long as your body is fueled appropriately. So you could do that 60 minutes of 30 30s and you could take a 15-minute break. You can, put some more sugars in your system, stretch it out, make sure your butt's feeling good because you've been sitting on the assault bike for an hour, and get back on and do it again and sustain the same power output, right, at that 68 RPM. So aerobic work is very good, but it's dangerous, right? Because you can do a lot of it and you can dig yourself a huge hole doing aerobic work. That's like, even like a recreational runner, right? Like they can go out and run 5, 10, 15 miles every single day, right? Like I know we all know that person where they're like, yeah, I wake up every morning and, well, we probably don't all know that person, but I've known a few people where like I wake up every morning and I run 5 miles. And it's like, why? Right? And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's nothing wrong with it until like some negatives start to come out of it. They're like, well, I have plantar fasciitis and I have this hip thing. I'm always tired. I have this, you know what I'm saying? So we can just dig so deep into that system that it can become detrimental.
And that we're not able to recover from it.
Yeah, it's not necessarily a recoverability thing. It is, but it's not, right? It's because when I think of we can't recover from it, I think we can't come out and perform it again the next day. The problem is that they can come out and perform it the next day. They feel worse. Maybe their RPE is higher because they're tired, but they're able to still perform it because it's not done at this very high level. It's not like a vertical jump, right? If we're tired and you have I'm going to give you some credit. Georgia has a 36-inch vertical jump and she comes in like super tired and she comes in super fatigued. That vertical jump might now be 32 inches. Or if we were to do a max wattage on the assault bike test, right? And we did that to like gauge recoverability and you hit, 1300 watts and that's like your top end. And we have you do that every single day. And then on days that you're tired, you hit 1100. And we're like, okay, she's clearly not tired. She can't recover from it. But going back to the 30-30 idea, because we're so under our max capacity, because it is truly aerobic work, you can almost fake it, right? You could still get to that 68 RPM. Your RPE is just higher, right? Or your rate of perceived exertion is just higher, but you can will your way through it and make it repeatable across those 2 hours. So yes, they're unable to recover effectively from it, but you can hide from not being able to recover in aerobic work because your scores can still tell you like you're able to do it, you're able to repeat it.
Yeah, I mean, I just reflect back on the difference between testing something like a 1RM back squat and then the ability and just how, you're tired, you're having a crappy day, you didn't sleep the other night, like how vastly those different, scores will be. And then you have something like a 12-minute like AMRAP and you can like hide in that and you can extend feeling shitty in that out for weeks and months at a time and not even realize. But you go for a 1RM and you're going to be able to tell.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, aerobic work is awesome, but it could also be dangerous because it doesn't give as immediate of a feedback loop as, like you said, doing that 1RM back squat or something like that can give you because you're just like, I can't do this. But in aerobic work, you're like, I can do it. I just don't feel good. But then you tell yourself this story of like, well, let me just do a couple more sets and I'll kind of get into the groove. or like, you do connect the dots where it's like, I probably just had a little bit of, I had a bad night's sleep last night, so that's why I feel this way, but I don't want to regress, so I'm going to still kind of push the envelope a little bit. But yeah, aerobic work is, I don't want to scare you away from aerobic work. It's awesome, right? But I just want to make it clear that we can hide in abilities inside of aerobic work.